Vice President Jourova, distinguished guests, EIF members, and my dear colleagues presented here in this EIF reception with the Vice President. This evening, you know, it is our privilege and great pleasure to have the European Commission Vice President for Values and Transparency, Vera Jourova. It is also a pleasure, we knew many of them, but to have this in this meeting, this is really something that we from the EIF, we appreciate very much. Before her appointment, Vice President Jourova served as European Commissioner for Justice, Consumer and Gender Equality, and prior to that, she was Minister for Regional Development for the Czech Republic in 2000. For the Czech Republic. Vice President Jourova, for us it is a strong opportunity, I said, to know the last situation, the state of place on disinformation and the EU response, a topic that is extremely important in these days. I just want to mention the amount of actions that the Commission has developed and the initiative to tackle disinformation. If we see the list, it's really amazing, a great job. The last one was strengthening the strengthening code of practice on disinformation, signed on the 16th June 2022, if I am right, that brings together a wide range of players to commit to a broad set of voluntary commitments and counter disinformation. We have just a limited time. The Vice President has to leave us in about 40 minutes, more or less, according to what I was informed. And after her intervention, there will be some time for question and answers. Just raise your hand. Someone can pass you a micro, and please introduce yourself. Thank you very much. Vice President, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madame del Castillo, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the Parliament. Thank you for inviting me to this event, and I am already now looking forward to the discussion. I was also looking forward to the reception before I was said that I have to leave. So I at least spotted that you will be having a good time here. So thank you for also choosing the topic, because disinformation has always been with us. This is accompanying the human beings, and we cannot get rid of that. But with the rise of the use of the digital tools, it became, especially in recent years, something which is causing slow poisoning that even erodes basic pillars of democracy. I worked 5 years as a consumer commissioner, and I remember how much we did in Europe. Not to get poisoned, not to eat things which are unhealthy, not to dress things which might endanger our skin. We didn't do much against the poison which is doing harm to our souls. And it's obvious that we have to do more, because this is already also threatening our security in Europe. As Madame del Castillo said, yes, we did a lot of things. But whatever we did, we always had in mind that the freedom of expression must be the basic principle. And I don't speak about absolute freedom of speech. We have limits in the EU, and these limits are already now in the laws, in European laws and in the member states' laws. So whatever we've been doing, we are not adding some illegal content or some new parameters for harmful content. No, we are building our system which should mitigate the impact of disinformation on the already existing laws. So it's important to mention. there were some periods in Europe when we saw disinformation being active more. After the annexation of Crimea, 40% of disinformation which we saw in our systems was about Ukraine, about Ukrainians. Already that was the moment when the Russians started to prepare the ground for the invasion. So who says that the war started in February this year is mistaken, because the hybrid war started already several years ago in 2014 through very well targeted disinformation campaigns and cyber attacking. So these were two things which were present in Russian military doctrine, which was publicly accessible. And did we notice it, or did we pay enough attention to that? I'm afraid not. So also in the Commission we were of course collecting data, watching the situation. We saw that the Russian attacks through disinformation are especially intensive in the former Soviet Union satellites, like in my country, former Czechoslovakia. Not so much in Poland, Mr. Boni.
I will say something.
Yes, but in other member states. Then the Dutch society was confronted with that after the MH17 case. Yeah? And there were several moments when we saw it in other member states, but mainly the targets were Central and Eastern European countries. Then COVID came. Suddenly we saw homogeneous messaging across the whole Europe. It was the moment when we were already upgrading the code of practice against disinformation, which the first version was from 2018. And in this upgraded code was mainly the set of new obligations for the digital platforms. What we did newly in COVID time was that we, for the first time, maybe for the last time in history, who knows what can happen, started to work with the term the authorities which have the pouvoir to inform the public about the facts. So health authorities. And we asked the platforms and the actors connected with the online communication, could you please provide more space to this authoritative content and minimize or remove dangerous messages and advices how to get rid of COVID, because in COVID time it was for the first time we saw that disinformation can endanger life and health of people. So it was a special moment which required special arrangement. So it was part of our agreement, and at that moment already we also started to work on the new code of practice. We issued the guidelines for the future signatories. It was May 2021, and I think we did the right thing, because we brought very concrete parameters for the future action, for very broad action with the involvement of digital actors, journalists, NGOs. It means fact checkers mainly, researchers, but also advertising industry. We wanted to involve them into that, to take a position on behalf of their clients, that the brands of their clients should not be connected in the digital space with the traditional disinformation channels. So, in other words, the participation of advertising industry is a very important factor in our plan to demonetize those who make money on disinformation. And why do they do that? We have a lot of data showing that either there is political gain or economic gain, and we have to go after both. This is a dangerous moment, dear friends, because I am not with my paper, which means that maybe it's more vivid, but it might take more time. So, 10 minutes still.
Of
Yeah?
course, you have plenty of time. It's
Oh,
just
no,
for
no,
you, yes,
no.
for you.
This upgraded code of practice was launched this year. One of the obligations they committed to, and we have 34 signatories, there are more to come. I was discussing with the owner of Spotify recently, many others. We are now selling the code to many new possible signatories. And they should start working and they should deliver the data about their action in mid-December. From mid-December to mid-January, we should have a consolidated report from the signatories, especially the big platforms, per country, per language. And this is a novelty, because up to now, I received a lot of reports about what's happening in English-speaking countries. It's Ireland and Malta partly, no, in the EU, no. Big languages like French and Spanish and German, of course. And we didn't have any clue about what's happening in the countries, especially in the eastern countries. And so I wanted them to report per country and per language. We will see, because these reports will be important for us to understand the impact of this information and also the impact of our action. At this moment, we know zero. In the reports I am receiving now from Facebook and others, it's about how many fake accounts they liquidated. Fine, several millions, great. So what should I do with such information? I need relevant data. So we will know much more what is the temperature of Europe, what are the trends, what is the intensity of the impact on the people, because we need to give the data to the relevant researchers so that they give us some report on where we are and whether we should do things differently. My theory is, it's not in my papers, because it's not very much welcomed by some influential experts. We will never get rid of disinformation. Don't forget, we are protecting the freedom of speech, and this information is not inevitably illegal content, but it's harmful content, which may have big impact on also security of people. So we even don't want to get rid of it, because the medicine would be worse than the disease, when you realize that. My theory is that we have to learn how to live with that and embed in our communication, and when I say our, I mean democratic politicians. We should be able to embed into our communication strategies and our communication the proactive action. It means we should learn how to predict the future coming disinformation campaigns, and it's per topic. What was it in the past? Migration, Green Deal, minorities, you can imagine, COVID vaccination. By having the data from the platforms, we could start working with the data so that we can predict easier when these campaigns come, which messages, which target groups, and so on. I would like this. I am not a biologist, but I know that there is a difference between how you can predict tsunami and earthquake. You cannot predict earthquake too early. With tsunami, you have some time for that. And this is what I would like to see. It will require total change of the communication system, because we are too proud. We think that everybody will swallow our truth. Come on. We have the enemy who is very vocal and who is visible. This is a new situation. So, sorry, I would like to hear your view on that, because This will require a lot of convincing also the EU institutions, but also the member states, that this is the way how to work with the data we receive through the code. We have a lot of good collaborators of the code, the European Observatory, a lot of fact checkers. There is no one who might be characterized like the arbiter of the truth. That's the main, one of the main points behind the code. This is something I was unable to explain in American Congress, because the congressmen, they were so curious about how the code will work, because there is some kind of black and white vision, either you censor or not. And I said, well, we developed this mechanism. I call it, it's horrible, but and it might be misused, but I call it the collective cleaning service, that we should all care about the facts. The opinions should belong to everybody, and we don't want to touch them, but the facts should be fact-checked, labeled. The people should have very close to what they are reading the possibility to receive the facts. Not everybody will be doing that. There is a big portion of European society which wants to be brainwashed, I'm afraid. The people don't mind, and they like it because, of course, always the disinformation contains a lot of emotions, adrenaline. The old theory of communication says when there is violence, money, and sex, everybody wants to see that. It works. So I don't have any illusions that everybody will reach for the facts, but the people should be given the choice. And there should be media literacy and digital literacy education and awareness raising. Because if somebody believes that top-down we can come with a fantastic solution in the fight against disinformation, again, it's a false idea. The people must become annoyed by having been manipulated. Yes. Now you are manipulated by me. That is a very important aspect also in what we are doing, that we see a very not coincidental correlation between the decrease of trust to media and increase of impact of disinformation. We have to stop this trend. We have to bring the media back to the to create better conditions for them. This is where the Media Freedom Act is going. We want to create better environment, safer. We need to protect the media against the state interventions, against spywares. We need to have guaranteed that in every state there are public service media which should be the guarantors of the delivery of the facts. And you can say it has a lot of downsides, but by the way, we don't have public service media in all the countries. We have countries where there are state medias and where are party medias which replace the public service media. That's why we placed into the Media Freedom Act the protection of and better conditions for the public service media. If you want to discuss things and ask me about political advertising online, this is another piece of legislation which is connected with what we are speaking about. You remember Digital Services Act, the pioneering piece of legislation, the moment when we decided in Europe to touch the digital platforms. Because so many years I was listening to many, don't touch it. Yeah, they are doing big business. Maybe we could regulate their monopoly nature or scope, but the content, it's a holy cow, freedom of speech. And we did it. We came with the Digital Services Act, which also manages, provides for auditing of the algorithms and many other things. And I didn't want the political advertising to be included in it. Because I do believe that for selling politicians to citizens, we desperately need stricter rules than for selling socks to consumers. That's why I am happy we have this lex specialis on political advertising, to lex generalis, which is the Digital Services Act. I do hope it will pass successfully the co-legislators' procedures, and I hope that we will have these rules fit and enforced before the elections in 2024. But these rules do not cover only European elections. This is our daring attempt to enter into the campaigning as such. And indeed, this is a very logical reaction on Cambridge Analytica case. So we are prohibiting the use of sensitive data, sexual orientation, political opinions, religion, and race as the micro-targeting criteria. Yeah? We are very consistent with GDPR on that. So it will be an important piece of legislation which might decrease radically the scope for manipulation of the voters. I will stop here. I have several more things here, but I am sure that it will be more useful if we have some dialogue also.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.